So today I will be explaining the monetary policy curve in the ISMP model. So long-term and short-term real interest rates slash the term premium. So to fully understand the MP curve in the ISMP model, we must consider long-term and short-term real interest rates. So the relationship between the two interest rates is dependent on three main factors. So my next slide will be on risk structure, and then my slide after that will be on the expected inflation rate, but this one's on the term structure. So firstly, we can examine this crucial tool that is necessary to investors. So this is known as the term premium. That's the crucial tool. With its main purpose, it kind of serves as a bridge between long-term and short-term bonds because it incentivizes investors to buy long-term bonds rather than sticking to short-term ones only, as this is due to interest rate fluctuations in the short term, which make long-term investments without a term premium fairly undesirable. So as a result of this, the future expectations set by investors on short-term interest rates and the term premium become the two primary factors that combine to become the term structure effect, which we can see here in the long-term equation. So this means the difference between the interest rates can be shown with this equation, which is the long-term equals the nominal plus the term structure premium. So for the risk structure slash the default premium. So we can now examine the relationship between interest rates on bonds with the same maturity but different characteristics. So in the other slide, it was different maturity but same characteristics. So in the previous slide on term structure. So this is known as the risk structure of interest rates when it has different characteristics. So the reason that bonds have different characteristics is due to something known as the default risk, which in short is the possibility that a borrower will stop making payments related to interest or principal, which is the amount of money that they have borrowed. So the additional interest that is placed on non-government bonds, private corporations, this means that they are private corporations, or on households is known as a default risk premium, which the reason that there's an additional interest placed is to ensure that payments on loans will be continuously paid and people won't just default their payments, which means to stop paying. So this is denoted as DP in our new equation. So this expands the original equation. So expected future inflation rate and the full equation. So we must consider the third factor to the relationship between short and long-term real interest rates, which is the expected inflation rate in the future. So this helps determine our final equation for the real interest rate. As in prior chapters, we learned that there's a relationship between long-term nominal interest rates and long-term real interest rates, which is just this relationship right here. So now if we substitute our values from before from the long-term nominal interest rates, which are I plus TSE plus DP, and then we keep the minusing the expected future inflation rate. So this is our final equation for the real interest rate. So the MP curve and what shifts the curve. So the monetary policy curve in the ISMP model shows how the interest rate imposed by the federal bank influences the output gap. So the four variables from the interest rate, from the real interest rate equation, which is the short-term nominal interest rate, the term structure effect, default, risk premium, and expected future inflation, determine if the MP curve shifts. So if any of these values change at all, increase or decrease, this curve will shift either up or down since it is always horizontal in our model. So my example showing this will be on the next slide. So this is my example of an event that shifts the MP curve. So a recession is currently affecting the Canadian economy. What happens to the MP curve? So the solution. So it is common practice for central banks to decrease their interest rates during an event such as a recession. So this results in a shift downward for the MP curve. So it's just this gray line right here. So this is my MP2 line right here. So furthermore, so due to the MP curve shifting downward, so the term structure effect and default risk premium, they'll also both decrease. So whichever direction the MP curve shifts would be the direction of which they increase or decrease, basically. So, but an inverse effect always occurs with the expected future inflation rate. So it would increase if the real interest rate decreases. So the real interest rate, so R2, it would decrease with this example. And the output gap, we'll just say, so this is our original output gap value right here, and then it would shift right here. So it would shift right. So in this case, we'll just say it would shift to become positive. So Y2, it's the intersection of the MP2 line on the IS line. So it would be the intersection right here, would be Y2. So yeah. And then these are just my citations. So thank you for watching my crash course on the MP curve.